Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to the monthly movie night. That's right, for those of you who may not know, we have brought the monthly movie night back. I used to do this, I believe it was back on the old channel. I don't think I ever did it on this one. I used to do it like a while ago, like over a year ago. And it was this thing I did using various movies like Steins Gate, Load Region of Deja Vu. I did the first Persona 3 movie, and various others here and there. It was kind of like, oh, every month I do one, and I think I tried to do it, I want to say on the last weekend of every month, but I ended up failing at that a lot of the times, and there were some times where I was having to force myself to get to it because I kept forgetting about it or kept not thinking about it. And I kind of ended up dropping it after, I don't know, like 6 months or so. And I thought, like, you know, movie reactions at this point will just be whenever I get to them, if I ever get to them, whenever I really feel like I want to do a movie reaction. And then Rarity Dash started doing monthly movie reactions. And he's been doing them for a while now, and they're really good, they're really entertaining. He does his on, I believe, the last Saturday of every month. But he's a lot more consistent with it because he's able to be more consistent and more easy with that. He's better with that kind of stuff, let's put it that way. I always had the trouble. But I've decided to try it again. I decided to bring it back and give it another chance. And I'm going to do it like this. Anytime during the month, whenever I can get to it. And in this case, I can get to it today. So, let's talk about it. You can already see what the title is in the on the video, so you already know what we're reacting to. This month's movie is Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. And this may seem to a lot of you like it came out of nowhere. It's like, why are you choosing this movie? Like, where did this come from? So let me explain. When I grew up, I used to watch this this series, this Scooby-Doo series called Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts. It guest starred Vincent Price as the character Vincent Van Ghoul, and it was basically the Scooby-Doo equivalent of the 13 Ghosts story, where they had to hunt down and take down 13 different ghosts, but they never finished it. I believe it was canceled. And it was never finished. The 13th Ghost was never actually, like, covered in the series. And recently they announced that they were going to do a movie, an animated movie, to kind of close out that storyline, to finish things up with that series that had started and ended so long ago. And my thoughts on that were, cool. Like, again, I used to watch that and I loved it. But then I thought, like, wait, Vincent Price is dead, so they would have to get someone else to do Vincent Van Ghoul. And that's when I read the cast list. Maurice LaMarche is Vincent Van Ghoul. You may know him as the Brain from Pinky and the Brain. He's also in The Legend of Korra as the Truth Seer. And he is more recently known for being Chancellor Naysay in Season 8 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And he's done a lot of other things, too. He's a pretty prolific and big-name voice actor. But those are three of the big ones that I can personally vouch for. So he's a really good choice. Like, I think his voice will work well. On top of it, we have some interesting choices for some of the main Scooby Gang. For example, Daphne is voiced by, well, she's one of the more obvious ones. It's Gray Delisle Griffin. She's been voicing Daphne for a while now, so that one's not really a big surprise. But we have Kate Micucci returning to voice Velma. She's the most recent voice for Velma. And a really interesting one, because it's like, I know Kate Micucci mostly as Sadie from Steven Universe, or Webby from DuckTales 2017. Thinking about her as thing about her as Velma is weird to me, and I've never seen the recent stuff with her as Velma. So, I don't know how this is going to sound, honestly. It's kind of weird because it's not the typical Velma voice I think of. And then, Shaggy is being voiced by Matthew Lillard. The guy who played the live-action Shaggy in Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. The guy who is also one of the bad guys in the original Scream movie. Yeah, I remember him from that. I mean, I love the Scream movies, so. That is wild that they're choosing to go with him. I mean, I don't mind. He does a good Shaggy voice. But it's like, that's surprising to me. So this is some pretty interesting voice casting on this. Now, as for the plot of the movie, I actually know nothing about it. I don't know what the movie's going to be about. I have not seen any of the trailers. All I know is this movie was recently released for digital and DVD. It's not like a theatrical movie or anything. Then again, when has Scooby-Doo been theatrical for... I don't think... When has the last time Scooby-Doo's had a theatrical release? Was that... I think the only time I can think of is with Zombie Island. I think Zombie Island was theatrical. And I think everything since then has all been straight to DVD and stuff. I want to say that's true. I'm going to look that up now. I am legitimately curious because I think that's true. Well, it's saying the movie was released on September 22nd, 1998. Oh, no, it was released right onto VHS. Okay. Never mind, I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. I swear, I thought it was released in theaters. For such a big movie, like, this was a big movie in the day. This was huge in terms of Scooby-Doo movies. And it's still, I think, the biggest one. Like, the most known Scooby-Doo movie. I mean, I guess the last Scooby-Doo movies that have been in theaters would probably be the live-action ones, then. Either way. Either way. Yeah. I know nothing about where this is going. I don't know, what kind of movie this is going to be. It was recently released, and I'm excited to see it. And I'm hoping it stays more true to the other movies I'm more used to, rather than more recent shows. Like, I hope it's more true to, like, again, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Cyber Chase, Witch's Ghost, that kind of stuff. I want it to be more true to that, the movie kind of continuity, rather than the, again, more recent shows like Mystery Inc. or Be Cool Scooby-Doo or any of that. I think it would just work better, in my eyes. Plus, design-wise, it would just look so much better. But I'm interested to see, to hear what these characters sound like. I'm interested to see what they do with this, and I'm really hoping this is good, because, again, this is finishing up on a storyline from a series that came out so many years ago, so long ago, that I grew up with, that I loved. And I'm really hoping that it turns out well. So, we're going to get on with it, and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the movie. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so this was Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. The closing chapter to the old series that started so long ago. In fact, I am kind of curious. I do want to check specifically on when that did air. Because I've kind of talked about it. It's the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. The 7th incarnation. Okay, so it premiered in September of 1985. And it ended in December of the same year. So it's been almost 34 years. I actually had to think about that. It's been almost 34 years since the series ended. Technically, a little over 33. Either way. Yeah, it's just, that's a long time to leave that hanging. But they did finally complete it with this movie, and what do I think about the film? It was good. It was very good. Until the end. Because here's the thing. The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, like these were supposed to be real ghosts. They were not humans in costumes. They were not illusions or whatnot. They were supposed to be real ghosts. That was a big thing in the series. In this, it's kind of, they're kind of trying to imply like it was not real at the end. Although I think it's just kind of Velma skepticism still, but everyone's just kind of accepting that none of it was real just because Asmodeus here ended up not being so. Because it ended up being Vincent's old friend who originally helped him get the chest and unleash the ghosts and everything. And here's what, I mean, based on what we saw and all, my thoughts is that it was all real, and that, again, there was a real Asmodeus. He was Vincent's ancestor and all, and he probably did see, Vincent probably did see him in that cloud, but he was probably the only one who could. It's like Asmodeus showed himself, basically, in a way you could say, to Vincent. Now, Velma was obviously, she was lying about what is said in the book, but that doesn't mean that what she said was wrong. It could be that. And that she just happened to kind of get lucky on that when making it up. And that's kind of the assumption I want to go by. Because it just, I feel like it just hurts the overall series to have it just all be fake. Because again, the fact that they were real was a big point. Like, this was before Zombie Island. These were real ghosts and whatnot, and this was before Zombie Island, where the monsters were real was the big drawing point of that movie. And so this was a big deal, even though the original series didn't have Fred and Velma in it. It was a big deal to have that real ghost kind of concept going on still. And it's just, I mean, it's not the only time it's done it, but still. To have it kind of retconned into being fake would overall just really damage the series in my eyes. Not that it wouldn't still be good in terms of just overall quality, but it would knock it down some pegs. And it would hurt the movie too, because this movie, Velma's skepticism and the idea that this ended up being, that this was true and not, was a big thing. And here's the thing. The idea that a ski lift could lift them up and stuff, like, yeah, there has been examples of that happening. Very rare, but it has happened. A ski lift could potentially catch your clothes and carry you up a certain amount of distance. I assume Fred and Velma were struggling, though, and if they were struggling, they definitely would have fallen off. And on top of that, the way they were snatched up, it couldn't have been a ski lift. They would have been snatched, and started moving forward. They were drawn straight upward. A ski lift wouldn't do that. They were drawn upward as if someone, like, reached down and plucked them up. Like, I don't know, do I have something I could give an example? Like, here, I'm going to put my speaker here on my hand like this. They were picked up, like, as if something went up, grabbed them, and pulled them upward. A ski lift would be coming from, like, this way, and it would catch the clothes, and it would move them, like, up and that way. Because of the way that Fred and Velma were lifted, it couldn't have been the ski lift. I think, and I want to hope that in the end it was just Velma returning to being skeptical. And I'm hoping that that chest that she refused to open in the end was the real one. Although from Flim Flam's reaction, I was kind of thinking that maybe it wasn't, and it was one of his chests. I don't know. But yeah, it's just that... That was my only real complaint. The fact that Asmodeus himself ended up being fake, and it was all illusion by Mortifer, I didn't like that either. Especially after the idea was thrown about that Asmodeus was Vincent's ancestor. And the fact that he wouldn't kill Vincent, yes, that fits in with Mortifer too. But I think it would have also fit in just as well with his ancestor. I don't know, I just feel like it was kind of silly in the way it was handled. I just feel like there was, the ending could have been done better. I'm fine with the Barry guy having been an Interpol officer, though the ice skating thing was a little unnecessary. I'm fine with the undercover Interpol officer thing going on with him. Like, that was completely fine. The hell? I don't know if you heard that, but someone just, like, revved up really hard and, like, boom! But yeah, I'm fine with the undercover Interpol officer and everything. But it's just like... The idea of Mortifer having been alive and having done all of this, just, it feels a little too silly. Personally, for me. It feels like it's trying to, like, play off this joke about, oh, it's always just people in masks, hee hee hee. I just don't feel like that worked in the end. But like I said, everything else was great. The only other thing I could even nitpick would be the song choice during the keep-away scene between Scooby, Shaggy, and, I guess Mortifer now you can call him, Asmodeus, Mortifer. The music was... It was good music, but I don't know, I just don't feel like it fit that well. I mean, lyrically, fine, but the style of music, the tone of it, really just didn't feel like it was fitting. Otherwise, like, I enjoyed it. I liked the characters. I liked the fact that they actually straight up acknowledged all the puns and everything that Vincent was doing. And that Vincent even acknowledged it and was just having a blast with it. Like, I love when other people were making puns and he was just giving him thumbs up in the background. That was hilarious. Vincent's such a dork and I love it. I really enjoyed the overall thing with Fred feeling like he was being overshadowed by the other members, by Shaggy and I guess at the end Scooby being able to fly the plane, by Velma being the team skeptic, I guess, and by Daphne taking over this leadership role. I feel like it's just it was a good healthy development moment for his character that really worked. Just as was the cheerleading thing. While, yes, some of those scenes with him acting like a cheerleader with the pom-poms and all was a little cringy. Overall, I like the concept. I don't think he needed to go into those little cheerleading scenes. At least, I don't think they should have done it more than once and should have kind of kept it down a little bit so it wasn't like super long and cringy. But I like the concept that he went to a cheerleading camp. I like the concept that he is a male cheerleader. Honestly, I think that's cool. Because people all the time will give male cheerleaders slack, saying like, oh, that's a girl's thing. Cheerleading's for girls. Male cheerleaders they must be gay or some shit like that. And it's like, for one, like, why are you using gay as an insult? Don't do that. That's fucking homophobic as shit. Don't do that. Two, why? Why does cheerleading inherently have to be girly? One, it's sexist as hell to even say that something is girly or masculine inherently. Anyone can do anything. Anyone can be into anything. Anyone can do anything. Basically, by saying something is girly and using it more or less as an insult like that, that is extremely sexist. Just like it is saying something is super masculine and using that as an insult. Though people don't usually do that. People like to portray something as being super masculine as a good thing. And it's ridiculous. I'm not even going to get into that whole spiel, though. I could talk for hours about that. But the point is, Fred being a male cheerleader is a great concept. Because Fred is normally seen as kind of the big, tough guy, the strong member of the group. I mean, you have Shaggy, who's the only, aside from Scooby, who's, you know, a dog. Shaggy's the only other human male member of the team. And he's kind of this cowardly, some people would consider stoner, who is constantly just trying to run away and get as much food as possible. And Scooby's basically the same way, just a dog. But, like, Fred's always seen as, he is always seen as the leader, and he's always seen as, like, the strong, collected, into it kind of person. And so, the idea of him actually being a male cheerleader kind of breaks those gender roles that people would subconsciously give to him as a character. And the fact that Shaggy is a legitimate pilot, to the fact where he can not only fly a plane but do it well, also breaks a lot of these preconceived notions about the character. Both of these are great ways to develop a character by going against their normal, something that you would normally think about them, but in a believable way. In a way that doesn't feel like kind of just out of nowhere. Like, suddenly making Shaggy strong and super powerful and excessively amazing and godlike, like these Shaggy memes are currently doing all over social media, is stupid. It doesn't work because it's such a drastic difference from how he is. And some people might say, oh, but that's exactly why it's funny. Because it's so drastically different. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. We know it's not anything serious, but it's the fun of it. And it's like, yeah, I see what you're saying, and sometimes that can work, but most of the time it doesn't. When you take a character and you try to make a joke by having them so excessively different from how they actually are, it doesn't work if people are taking it seriously. And people are taking it way too seriously, like trying to force it to be in Mortal Kombat with these petitions and shit. I mean, compare that to, like, Ugandan Knuckles. Ugandan Knuckles is as far away from actual Knuckles as you could get with a character. But it's taken as such a random, out-of-nowhere joke. Nothing about it is serious. No one takes it seriously. No one acts like it is serious. Everyone knows it's stupid as fuck. But they have fun with the fact that it's stupid. People are taking this Shaggy thing, this way too far. And yeah, most people probably aren't, but there are people who are, and it kind of makes it lose its luster with, again, the Mortal Kombat petition. And stupid shit like that. So, there's just this point where you have to... If you do make a character so different and ridiculous and stupid like that, it has to be... It has to be taken as ridiculous and stupid. It has to be acknowledged as such, and it has to be played only as a ridiculous and stupid joke that you're just having fun with. But the point is, with this, it doesn't feel like that. With Shaggy being a pilot, with Fred being a male cheerleader, it actually comes across somehow as natural. The idea that Fred could be hiding that part of himself because he wants to feel masculine, he wants to come across as the strong leader type, I like that, because, and it's realistic too. There are a lot of people out there who will hide these kind of things about themselves, especially guys, because they have to live up to this definition of manly that society has given to them. So they're afraid to admit that in a lot of cases they might be into more girly things, like My Little Pony, or cheerleading, or fashion, or whatnot. And there are always exceptions, of course. There have always been guys in the fashion industry. There are some pretty manly guys in the brony fandom. And yeah, it's just, there's always exceptions, but there is that stigma still in real life. I mean, hell, there's a movie that came out semi-recently called Welcome to Marwen. It is based on a true story about a man who was beaten within an inch of his life by a group of thugs outside of a bar because while drunk, he accidentally let it slip that he likes to wear women's shoes, especially high heels. And these guys believed that he deserved to die because of it, because he wasn't manly, because he didn't live up to the stereotypical definition of what makes a man a man. And the movie does a great job at showcasing why that's a completely bullshit ideology to have. And why this character, played by Steve Carell, again, this is a real person, this really happened too, why Steve Carell's portrayal of this character is so good, because it goes against those ideals, those norms. Hell, there are just people in general who try to enforce these norms with phrases like boys will be boys, or locker room talk, or shit like that. And it's all about enforcing these harmful, negative stereotypes that guys have to live up to a trite definition of what manly is to be considered guys. There are people who will even complain if a guy goes to a bar and orders anything other than a beer or a whiskey or something like that. Oh, if they order something like a margarita or something like that, a fruity drink, a cider, anything that's, you know, or even a fruity beer, they'll be called horrible names. They'll be treated like shit, and it's horrible. It's disgusting. And I know I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but that's why I like that so much in here. I liked it because Fred was able to open up about it. And you know what? No one judged him for it. I mean, I think Shaggy snickered a little bit, but Velma made very quick to say, oh, that makes sense. Okay. And just as quickly as it was brought up, I mean, outside of Fred cheering for them afterwards with the pom-poms and stuff, no one mentioned it really again. No one picked on him. No one attacked him for it. The only thing after that they were annoyed by was the fact that he kept doing it. The fact that he kept going a little overboard with it over and over. And I mean, I got a little annoyed by that because it was a little too cringy. But let's talk about the rest of the movie. Let's actually move on from all of that. We also had the fact that it was separated into kind of two different perspectives. We had Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Vincent going off in their own direction because they were the ones who were more acquainted with this, while Fred and Velma, kind of being unacquainted with all of this, with everything that had happened in the series, they had to kind of do their own thing as well. And I like that. I like that we saw those two different perspectives of the story, as well as, like, switched between them. I thought it worked really well, and I really liked the handling of it. I also like the handling of the pacing of the movie. It felt right. It never felt like it was going too fast or too slow. It never felt like things were rushed through or things were overstaying their welcome. Again, except for Fred's cheering, but that's more of just a ongoing, recurring joke than anything. I just feel like it was really just handled excellently overall. I loved, as I said, Vincent. I loved the other characters, too. Our main characters were really good. Like, see, this is the difference between this kind of thing and Mystery Inc. Mystery Inc. tried to make the characters more teenagers. Tried to go more of a realistic, quote-unquote, route with their portrayal as teenagers. But I think this movie was more realistic with that. Honestly, the Mystery Inc. characters felt so... Except for, like, Scooby and Shaggy, who were the same as always. They felt like such massive stereotypes, and in the worst way. Like, seriously, Fred was overly stupid and thought only about traps to the point where he didn't notice anything around him. Velma was just a bitch, which I hated because Velma's always been my favorite. Daphne was a love-struck, horny-ass teenager who kind of, like, was upset whenever she didn't get her way and whenever Fred Senpai didn't notice her. Seriously, they were all walking stereotypes. Again, the only exception was, like, Shaggy and Scooby, but they were the same as always. I don't think I've ever seen a portrayal of Shaggy and Scooby where they weren't like that, to be honest. Again, outside of, like, the Shaggy memes. But it's kind of silly. It's kind of ridiculous when all of these characters are changed so much that they don't even resemble the characters that they were that they used to be. Like, you could use, like, the hashtag #NotMyVelma or whatnot. I know how stupid that sounds, but seriously, like, in this movie, they all felt natural. They felt like they were teenagers, almost 18 years old. I've known a lot of teenagers in my life. I went to 4 different high schools and had to get acquainted with a lot of different other kids during that time. And I've known a lot, and I've made quite a few friends between those, but even just outside of that, I've known the other kids in the classes I've taken. And it's like, yeah, they were definitely much more like the characters in here. The characters in Mystery Inc. felt like the characters you would find in any of those teenage high school drama movies. They felt like they were way too over the top. All of these, like, stupid, ridiculous stereotypes that most of the time aren't even true. And it's ridiculous. So I really like how the characters were handled here. I like the visuals as well, like, just outside of the general art style, which was good. I like the general visuals, like the when we saw the car, Mortifer's car, when we saw Mortifer as Asmodeus doing all of the magic shit, especially like when he turned into just a giant glowing head and was shooting through the halls. I like that. Various things like that. And I love the different locations, how we traveled from one place to another and stuff. I love how things were set up early on, too. Like with the Interpol agent. I like how that was set up, like, almost right from the beginning. And even the Mortifer thing was kind of set up, even though I didn't like how that turned out. It was still set up. Though, if those flashbacks are true, then it definitely confirms that the ghosts were real. And that we saw them. Before Mortifer was taken and all. Unless, even back then, all of that was an illusion. Every single bit of it. But they had just, like, found the chest. So how would all of that at that... I don't know. It's just, at this point, it's just so confusing. It's just so... The ending, like I said, with the idea of it all have possibly been faked... It hurts the overall quality of it. It doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it does hurt it. Overall, though, I think I've talked on long enough. I think I've rambled long enough about certain aspects. So, yeah, just know that I did really enjoy this. It probably wasn't as great as I would have hoped. It could have probably been better. In fact, I know it could have been better. But it was still great, and I still really enjoyed it. And I love that they made a joke at Scrappy's expense. No one likes Scrappy. The funny thing is, I actually did like Scrappy when I was a kid and didn't know better. But looking back on it, yeah, I've seen some Scrappy do stuff since then, and oh my god, it was stupid and horrible. So yeah, no one likes Scrappy. and I'm kind of glad that they made a joke at his expense. So yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing. Either way, yeah. Tell me what you thought of this in the comments below. And now we get on to the next movie months, which will be March, of course, obviously. So here's how this is going to go. I mentioned this before, but we're going to talk about it again here for obvious reason. So we're going to host the movie every month, and then when I post the movie, like when you're seeing this redirect now, in the blah, 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 description below, you'll have seen it when you already went to the reaction, is a link to a poll. The poll will lead you to the March reaction. Every month, here's what I'll do. Now, I already did this. I already posted a video about it, but for this one. But every month, when the next thing is coming up, I will announce what this month's movie will be, and then we will hold a kind of randomizer to determine what the next month's choices are. Like I said, I already did this. It should already be posted to the channel. But we randomize a list of 5 movies, and then the poll will be for those movies. So you will then vote on the poll, and that one will win the next month. Will be the one for the next month. So the poll, I've decided, will run for exactly 1 week. Just because that's about the right time for one of the polls on this channel. If we had a lot more people on the channel, a lot more viewers, a lot more subscribers and stuff, we'd run it a little longer. But since we have what we have, it'll just be for 1 week. At the end of that week, I will record the at the time, the winner, and yeah, that will be it. And so when the next month comes, so like in this case, when March comes around, I will make the video, I will like officially announce the winner, even though at that point, even after the week ends, you could probably just check and you'll probably know. You could check the poll again. But that's when the official, like, legit announcement will be, and then we'll have the randomizer to determine the next 5, which will then be, the poll for that will be put up again when the next movie comes up. So all I'm getting to here is, here's the we're actually doing 6, sorry. Here's the 6 choices for this month's movie poll, for March's movie poll. You will vote on these 6, and the winner will be the movie React to in March. I will put up another video as well, going on about the poll and everything separately, but I am mentioning it here for the movie reaction as well. So the 6 choices. Number 1 is Ice Dragon, Legend of the Blue Daisies. I don't really know what this one's about, but it was suggested to me by a friend, so it was put on the list in general. And now it was one of the ones that showed up as the top 6 in the randomizer, so yeah. Number 2 is actually a twofer, The Death of Superman and Reign of the Supermen. It's kind of a 2-part thing, and it's one of the only examples of a time where I'll do this, where I'll have a 2-movie reaction for the monthly movie reaction. If you vote on it, of course. If not, it'll just return to the randomizer, but it will still be the twofer. It's one of the only examples I'll do that for, though. Number 3 is April in the Extraordinary World, a movie suggested to me by Space Apples, I believe. Again, I don't really know much of anything about it. I think I might have been told something, but I must have forgotten. Number 4 is 5 centimeters per second, an anime movie that, again, I don't know much of anything about, but I have heard a lot of good things about it, and I've been wanting to check it out ever since, just never got around to it. Number 5 is Princess. Princess, all I know is it's supposedly a very, very mature adult movie, and that's all I know. I don't know how mature exactly. I've just heard it is very mature. I don't know in what ways it's very mature. Like, it might be like just a lot of graphic violence and gore. It might be sexual. It might be some, like, kind of a mix between that, like with Last Man. I don't know. And number 6, there we go, is From Up on Poppy Hill. This is a Studio Ghibli film, and one of the few, one of the only, like, 2 or 3 I have not seen. So, since it is a Studio Ghibli film, if that is chosen, it will be the dub, by the way. The English dub done by, I believe Disney still did Poppy Hill. Disney does most of them, but there's a couple that weren't Disney. I think it's still Disney. Either way, it will be the dub. And again, it's one I don't really know much of anything about. I don't really know much of anything about most of these. The only ones I do is Death of Superman and Reign of the Supermen, which is, of course, the Death of Superman arc from the comics that had been done before in the Superman Doomsday movie, and various other sources. Even the DCEU did it. So I do know about that one. Well, those 2, since that's a 2-movie slot. So yeah, those are the 6 options for this poll. The poll will be linked in the description below, and you can also find it when I post the separate poll video, which will just be going over this information again. So either way, thank you so much for tuning in to this month's movie night. Tell me what you thought of Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. What did you think of the ending and how it played out? And tell me your thoughts on anything else you want to mention. So for now, thank you once again. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,